Welcome to the Living Superhuman Fitness Podcast, where we take you inside our gym, CrossFit Palm Beach, each week. It's here that we are creating new superhumans every day, transforming people's lives, helping them reach a level of health they never knew possible. We strive to answer your most burning questions on fitness, health, nutrition, training, motivation, mindset, lifestyle, and more. If you have a question, please email us at info@crossfitpalmbeach.com. You can also learn more on our blog, livingsuperhuman.com. And if you have a moment, we'd love a review from you on iTunes. All right, it's time. Let's stop being average and start living superhuman. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Living Superhuman Fitness Podcast. My name is Andrew, and I'm joined by some of our coaches and members here today.
Hi, I'm Rose.
Craig Avera.
And Coach Brendan.
And today we're going to be talking about what are rest days and active recovery days, and some of the benefits and differences between those 2 days and why you need them. So you don't need any rest days. End of podcast. See you later. Just kidding. So we're going to talk about first rest day. Basically, a rest day would be a day that you don't do anything or don't do anything inside the gym. Maybe you do a light walk or paddle boarding, something that would be light, maybe not even break a sweat. But you definitely don't come into the gym and do anything on that rest day. Whereas an active recovery day, maybe in the gym and maybe outside the gym, the goal is to kind of sweat a little bit, get your heart rate up, but not high, just kind of keep it at a low intensity, maybe do some mobilization, maybe do some skill work, but just to get your body moving so you're not stiff and you get to feel like you did something that day. So what are some of the benefits? We'll start there. What are some of the benefits of either a rest day or an active recovery day?
A rest day is very good to kind of reset your system. I usually kind of think of it as like a Sunday. It's good to have it at the end of the week. Kind of refreshes your system from that hard week you had. Also mentally, kind of like just a free day to kind of do whatever you want outside the gym, reset yourself, and get back to it on Monday.
Yeah, definitely. For the mental aspect of it, I think it's critical. Like if you just grind day after day, eventually you just start to it feels like a chore. Like, oh, I have to go train, and you don't want that to ever be, a part of your training regimen. Another thing is I think it keeps the intensity high. So a lot of people feel guilty for taking a rest day, but then they come back and they're always operating at like 80%, and they never get that full intensity mode where if you get that rest day in there, you can allow your body to fully recover and hit it very hard the next day. I think that's something that gets overlooked a lot.
Yeah, I think the mental part is key, and I almost think it's to the point where you want to take a rest day before you know you need a rest day. You want to be ahead of it, because once you know you need that rest day, it's almost like it's too late. So you might have a great week and you did your Saturday workout, usually a harder day on Saturday for us here, and then Sunday comes and it's like, oh, I feel good. I could go in the gym. I should go in the gym. I would suggest that's a time you either do an active recovery day or a rest day and stay out of the gym, so that way on Monday hits, you're itching to get in there, and you have so much pent up energy and excitement that you can really get that intensity again come Monday and Tuesday.
Definitely.
Cool. So active recovery day, let's talk about that a little bit. We were talking before the show, a lot of us actually prefer the active recovery day to the rest day, and different approaches to the active recovery day. Do any of you guys have anything that you particularly like to do on an active recovery day?
For me, even though it's not a full rest day, it's still an active recovery day. I still like to try to stay out of the gym, either swim back at home or do paddleboarding like Andrew mentioned. Just something, part of the reason why we go to the gym all the time and try to stay in shape is that so you can do fun, active things outside of the gym too. So for me, especially mentally, getting outside and just having fun and staying active that way keeps things fun. Yeah,
I think that's a great idea. Some of the things I like to do is kind of get outside. Even if I'm here at the gym, maybe bring a kettlebell outside, a rower outside, get some sun. You get that vitamin D. It gets you a little bit of an energy boost, and it makes you feel good. For me, I actually really prefer doing heart rate training I have a tendency to kind of, being like a high power athlete, someone who's naturally a little bit stronger, I have a tendency to go too hard. Even when I try to do an active recovery day, I'll get into the workout and push for the last couple minutes because I feel good. Whereas with that active recovery day, the heart rate monitor helps me because I keep myself under 150. So whenever I feel my heart rate go above that, or I see it on the watch, I just take a rest, and I rest until it comes back down under that 150 mark. And I can do that for 30 to 60 minutes and really feel great at the end of that session, pouring out sweat. I mean, sweat even more than I would in a hard CrossFit class, but I feel better that next day, and I feel refreshed coming into that next day.
The active rest days are my personal favorite rather than doing a full rest day, just because I get to sweat and I feel great sweating constantly. I feel great sweating on a day where I may not even feel great. I just want to feel good, and that sweat makes me feel great. But basically, like, it's a tricky day too, because I usually program a active rest day on Thursdays for myself, and I'm inside the gym on that day, and a lot of people tend to be in the gym during an active rest day. But even when you come to the gym, you may want to pick up something else. You may say, oh, that looks fun, I want to do that as well, and then you might get sidetracked. So just kind of be careful with your active rest days and what you're doing. And if you have a barbell out, you're like, oh, I want to put on 45s, I want to do something else. So active rest days kind of are a gray area, but try to always be on the side of empty barbell or lightweight or more monostructural, like rowing, running, swimming, biking, stuff like that, rather than hitting the weights or hitting like the sexy movements.
And even like incorporating raw mod and mobilizing this stuff, because during the week, especially if I'm at the gym like training for 3 hours, and I don't want to spend the time to mobilize for like 45 minutes, but so not just like monostructural stuff, but also stretching and mobilizing and using that day to get that stuff in too.
Yeah, definitely.
And then the active recovery days in the gym can be fun because it's a little less structured, right? You come in and you're like, hey, I can work on a skill, or I can work on, a movement that I'm not very good at, a weakness, and you don't feel like you have to follow the protocol of like, okay, well, Monday's program is this, and you want to get that done because you need that structure for your progress. But if you come in on a Sunday, you can be a little bit more freestyle and not beat your body up too bad, but you work on more unconventional movements that you wouldn't otherwise do.
Yeah, Rose mentioned like doing monostructural movements. That's kind of the go-to, which monostructural would be like rowing, running, biking. You can even throw in like burpees in there and jump rope and stuff like that. I really like, for an active recovery day, I like the kind of like the around the world format. So basically you pick anywhere from like 5 to 7 different movements that all can be done at a lowish intensity. So it could be, okay, a 2-minute run, then come in and do a 500-meter row, which is about 2 minutes, and then a mile on the bike, which is about a couple minutes. Then you do 10 GHDs, a couple jump ropes, a bear crawl, and you kind of cycle through that, and you're never on one thing for too long, so it kind of keeps you interested, keeps you distracted. You can do it with a few other people as well, and they'll kind of pace you out as well. But that can be an easy way to gather like a 45-minute workout and never actually feel bored or feel like you've, just hang out on a rower for 45 minutes for most people is not very fun. Or even to go out for a 45-minute run. We got great weather now this time of year, so maybe you enjoy that, but not everybody loves running. So, that can be an easy way to mix in some of your weaknesses in a way that keeps you interested and keeps it fun. Let's talk about potential downsides. What are some potential downsides to rest days? I know, Brendan, you were saying that you haven't actually taken a full rest day in a year. So what have been downsides for you personally that have kind of prevented you from taking rest days and going more towards the active recovery?
As far as rest days go, for me personally, just putting into factor, like I've been doing CrossFit for over 4 years. I kind of know my body a little bit more than probably the person who's done it for maybe 6 months. I've kind of experimented with taking a full day off, laying on the couch, watching TV, not doing much on one specific day, and on that next day I'm tight, I don't feel good, my energy is down. I personally feel best doing more of the active rest day, or maybe a little bit more for myself. I feel better that way, I feel loose the next day, my energy's up. Even though I'm training to some extent on that active rest day, I still am itching for the next day, and that's just me as as an athlete myself. But I mean, downsides, you can kind of figure that out on your own and kind of test, how do I feel doing something versus nothing, or a little bit of swim, or maybe testing to see maybe you're doing a little bit more than an active rest day. Kind of assess there and go from there, and see what works best for you. But personally, that downside of doing just the rest day doesn't work for me.
Yeah, I think another thing is it breaks your routine too. Is like we talked about it with Steve Walker in his podcast about how CrossFit can save your life, but his schedule is a 7-day-a-week schedule, and we try to get him to do rest days and active recovery days, and he probably should do more of them. But there's something to be said about, he knows every day when he wakes up, he's going to the gym. There's no decision to be made, he just shows up. And I think when you know that you're either doing a training day or you're doing an active recovery day, there's never a decision to be made, and it never breaks that habit, that routine. So every day you wake up, you know you're gonna do something, you know you're gonna get some kind of a sweat in, but some days are gonna be your hard training days and other days are gonna be your active recovery days. And because I found personally, sometimes I don't ever want a rest day. Once I take one, I want 2 or 3 or 4. I kind of get in that lazy habit rather than if I just stick with the active recovery days, I just always want to show up.
Sure.
And I think that's good, like for someone like Steve or like, I don't know, a lot of us, I think we look forward to coming to the gym, I think, but like Craig said, if it ever starts to feel like a chore, that's when you should be like, okay, step back, get out of the gym and spend some time away, so that you never want to dread it. You always want to wake up and enjoy, look forward to it. So with someone like Steve, I mean, I think that's how he feels. He wakes up and he can't wait to get there. So as long as you continue to feel that way and it doesn't become something that you don't look forward to, then it's fine, yeah.
And a good assessment of that, just to kind of spitball this back and forth, is that if you're coming into the gym and you're like, I'm gonna come in, I can do 7 days a week, I know I can do it, but then your intensity, you're like 30% there when you get to your workout, that's obviously the day that you wanna take the active rest day, or the full rest day if you need it, because there's no sense in trying to hit this grueling workout if you're just gonna go 30% effort and your intensity is really low.
Yeah, we talked about like competitor schedule a little bit, which is even some of the best athletes in the world. This isn't true for everyone. You have people like Rich Froning that seem to never take a rest day, but he's kind of a freak in that sense. But even like a Katrin, who was the fittest woman on earth, she's generally taking 2 rest or active recovery days every week. She's got a lot of volume packed into her training days, but generally Thursdays and Sundays, she still is doing mostly rest or active recovery on those days. So for an everyday person, we probably want to take a similar approach. Is once we've had 2 or 3 hard days in a row, we're probably due for a lighter day. So the schedule that most of our higher level athletes should kind of shoot for is a 3 on, 1 off, 2 on, 1 off, where Thursdays and Sundays end up being that rest day or active recovery day. And our programming is kind of built to reflect that. If you follow any of the extra competitors' work, we don't have it on those days specifically because we want those to be lighter days. So that's generally a good schedule. Beginners may want to mix in more of those rest or active recovery days, but once you've kind of built that volume up, you can probably handle that so your intensity doesn't drop. What are some downsides of active recovery days? Are there any downsides of active recovery days?
Yes, I believe, for me, yeah, I've kind of seen that, that if I want to do an active recovery day, I sometimes tend to overdo it. I tend to, whatever movement I'm doing, let's say I'm just trying to get some squats in, some front squats, I might start to feel good as I go along, but then that next day I was like, all right, well maybe I shouldn't have done that. Like I feel kind of bad right now, my nervous system's down, my CNS is not doing well, so doing too much on that active recovery day can definitely be a downfall. Yeah,
once you get in the gym, people are doing fun things. Yeah. You just want to
hop in with you. I want to hop in. I'm good. I swear, I'm fine.
I want to do that.
I was planning to do this all along.
Yeah, I think, and Rose touched on another point, which is if your active recovery days are not happening outside the gym at least a couple days a week, that can potentially lead to burnout. Even if you're doing a great job of Thursdays and Sundays, I come to the gym and it's a lighter day, you just showing up here 7 days in a row for a really long period of time can start to wear on you, and it may be good to just refresh, get outside the gym, or just take a day that's, maybe just go for a walk. I would count a walk as more of a rest day rather than an active recovery day. You still can get outside and move a little bit, but it's definitely lighter than the sweat you would have from a more active recovery type workout.
And definitely in like competition mode, where the day after the competition, you may want to go and see your friends or go into the gym and just move around. Like that's a time where you really kind of have to like assess your body and just kind of just check your ego. Because I mean, I did a competition like 2 years ago, and the next day I just trained as if I was ready to go. I got super sick, and my body wasn't ready to do it. So that next day, it definitely should be a rest day or an active rest day at most.
And why should people have these days at all? You know, why do we need these rest days? Why do we need the active recovery days? And what are we seeing with our athletes that aren't taking rest days? Or maybe they don't go 7 days in a row, they go 5 days straight. They just go Monday through Friday straight through. What do you guys see in their workouts, or what are some of the issues that kind of come up when these people are going straight through?
I mean, I still think it goes back to just like being able to be a sustainable athlete over a period of time. Like if you're an athlete who is dedicated, but you don't have the discipline to give yourself a day off, that can end up biting you. It can work against you rather than for you. And I think a lot of, athletes who are trying to get to the next level or who are trying to compete they have this inner feeling that they have to always be doing something, they have to go hard, but I mean, realistically, that's just very hard to achieve. So I think hitting that reset button with either a rest day or an active recovery day can just keep you mentally focused and just sharp, and keep your game that much tighter than if you just grind and grind and grind. Over a period of time, that's it's hard to keep doing that forever,
It's a long-term approach.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if we specifically said it yet, but injuries. I mean, just simply letting a shoulder rest for a little bit, letting your back rest for a little bit. A day here and there, I mean, it adds up. And if you can give yourself these little breaks over time, the risk of injury, I think, goes way down just from mixing in 1 or 2 active recovery days or rest days each week.
Definitely agree.
And for like the everyday member that is coming like 5 days a week, that's their normal schedule. Like they come get their workout in, they go to work, or they go to work and then they come get their workout in, and that's just a regular schedule for them. And they have to realize that even though that's part of their work week, they should be taking that 4th day or taking that 5th day a little bit lighter, or not coming in that day. Just because it fits your schedule doesn't mean it's not good for you and your body's schedule. So on the weekend, like, you may not be able to come to the gym, but it's worth just taking that 4th or 5th day a little bit lighter, kind of resetting then.
Yeah, it might not be an official active recovery day, but just allowing yourself to kind of back off, maybe not hit it so hard in the workout. Still probably not as good as some of the suggestions we gave earlier for active recovery, but it is going to allow you to hit it harder. I had conversation with a couple of our competitors that I mentioned that we encourage them to take Thursdays off, and we don't program extra work for them. And a lot of them were going straight through Thursday, and they would just show up because that was part of their routine, especially our 5 and 6 a.m. They just kind of have that routine where they get up and they go to the gym. She would perform great on Thursday. She would do well, but what she realized is that Friday and Saturday, she wouldn't perform nearly as well. So the day that was her active recovery day or rest day, she still did pretty well on it. So she could justify in her head, oh, that was fine, I did well. But where it was hurting her was when Friday and Saturday would come, she couldn't hit it hard, and those were the workouts that were actually meant for her, her goals and things that she wanted to improve at, and Thursday wasn't really helping her with the things that she wanted to improve at. So sometimes it's not necessarily, it doesn't really feel right in that moment because you felt good going through that workout, but the next 2 or 3 days, as Craig mentioned, is like, that's what matter, and that's really what you want to get the most out of. Cool. So I think this is going to be a short episode today. You guys have anything to add to that?
I think it's an invaluable tool as an athlete to learn, to listen to yourself and to be able to make yourself take that day off or take that active recovery day and not feel that pressure. It'll just pay off so much I love the 3-on-1 off. It gives you kind of a set schedule. Like, this is how my week's gonna go, but sometimes it doesn't work that way. Maybe you had a really hard workout on Tuesday that beat you up harder than a normal Tuesday would, and then you need a rest day on Wednesday rather than your scheduled Thursday. I think it's good to be able to as an athlete, make that adaptation on the fly. Like, okay, I don't feel it today. Like, I'll come in some days and I'll mobilize, and if I don't feel great, I'll just, nope, not happening today. I'm gonna mobilize, recover, maybe hit a row, and it'll be kind of like a impromptu active recovery day.
And I've kind of noticed that happens a good amount. I mean, Coach Dominic, yesterday or 2 days ago, he had that happen to him. He walked in the gym, was warming up, and he was like, nope, can't do it. He like got off a plane the previous day, and he just had to assess that then and there. And a lot of people are going to have to make that decision on their own. They may be in a class during the skill work, and they just have to say, no, I can't do that, and move on.
It's a fine line between giving yourself an excuse to not work out or not train and to make your training more efficient. Because I'd rather have a day off and then a great day the next day than a mediocre day followed by
another mediocre day.
Exactly. That doesn't get you.
Craig, you're never mediocre.
Thanks, P.
Craig, your mediocre is my outstanding. And I think it comes down to really just playing around with these things and seeing what works for you. You know, we talked about Brendan's found that active recovery days work, and he hasn't taken a single rest day. And I think we've all kind of moved towards that over time, and we've learned how to maximize those active recovery days. But that might not be the case for everyone. You might feel great coming off a rest day, and you should have more of those in your workout, in your routine. What do you guys like to do before competitions? What do you guys like to do in terms of rest days and active recovery days? A lot of people do competition. Should they rest before? Even something as simple as the open. You know, do you guys like to rest on Thursday if you're going to hit it on Friday, or what do you like to do?
Rose just competed, so she should know.
Yeah, I like to do something the day before. I think Craig mentioned like 2 days before he takes it pretty easy, and then the day before he'll do something active. Just especially like for nerves and just like nervous energy, I like to do something just to get it out, sweat it out, so I feel good the day before.
Yeah, I would say like try and avoid, I mean, a lot of it's just trying to avoid movements that are going to really tax out your CNS, your central nervous system, like the day before. Like if you do, 100 deadlifts for time at a moderately heavy weight the day before a comp, chances are you're going to wake up not feeling 100% the next day. So I think picking smart movements, but it is good to move the day before a competition, at least personally, because you'll just stay limber, you'll stay loose, you keep that mobility.
Yeah, I think the one thing you definitely want to keep in mind is that soreness typically sets in around the 24 to 48 hour mark. So, I would actually recommend more so than the day before that 2 days before is probably your lightest day.
Yeah.
So if you're doing a Saturday competition, Thursday would be like the lightest day. Friday could either be a workout day that's kind of moderate, or it could be just a lighter active recovery day. I like to kind of pair up if you know your events. So like, you're doing burpees and power cleans, do some barbell power cleans, empty bar, and do some burpees, and just kind of get used to that sequence, that transition, and then you still feel good going into it. Helps with the nerves a little bit too, getting used to exactly what you're going to do the next day.
Definitely.
Yeah. I like to keep to the same schedule that I usually do as far as active recovery days goes, just because if it's not broke, I don't fix it. So, I mean, it works for me. I feel good doing it.
Oh, it's not broke, Brendan.
It ain't broke. Great. Thank you. Appreciate it. But yeah, I just like to stick that because, I mean, if you shouldn't be changing something, I mean, obviously before a competition where it's a lot of events, a lot of volume, if something's been working for you all this time.
That's a good point. And this is kind of a little bit tangent, but piggybacking off of that, a lot of people change their nutrition on competition day, which I used to do, and then I realized that that's probably the last thing you want to do. So it's whatever is working for you for the last 3 months, 6 months, year, 2 years, probably will still work for you. Why divert from the path just because you have a competition? Makes no sense.
Yep.
That's a good point.
Cool. All right, we'll wrap it up. Make sure you get some rest days, active recovery days mixed in. We'll see you next time.